Thank you.
Thank you for having the courage to tackle the tragic disconnect in our country's effort to find missing Americans. The Help Find the Missing Act has been named Billy's Law in honor of our son who went missing 5 years ago. It is my husband Bill and my greatest hope that the legislation so well crafted by Representatives Murphy and Poe will be signed into law in order to help bring answers and peace to the thousands of families wrestling with the horror of having a loved one go missing. We hope that sharing our family story can shed light on this national nightmare and illustrate the urgent need to pass Billy's Law. With over 100,000 people missing in this country, our family's story is not a unique one. Our son's name is William Smolinski, Jr., and his whole life we called him Billy. He was funny and a bit of a goofball, always trying to surprise us with a joke or a trick. Billy was a hard worker who drove a tow truck, owned a small house in the south end of Waterbury, and loved his 3-year-old German Shepherd, Harley. Everything changed on August 24, 2004, when Billy vanished at the age of 31. In our search to find our son, we encountered a Pandora's box, and when we opened it, we unleashed the nightmare plaguing the world of the missing and the unidentified dead. Our nightmare began when a neighbor called to say that Billy had left his dog unfed and locked inside his house. Billy's truck was parked oddly in the driveway, in a spot he had never used before. We are a very close family, and we knew something had happened. We called the police, and they told us to wait 3 days to see if Billy showed up, and if he didn't, to file a missing persons report. After waiting the 3 days, we filed a report and expected the police to launch an aggressive investigation. When the police did nothing, we organized our own search with friends and family. We even hired a private investigator. As the days passed, we knew something terrible had happened to our son. Yet we still couldn't get the attention of the local police department. They dismissed Billy as a walk-away case. The police were not only slow to respond, but they also didn't properly report the case. It took 4 years for a report to be correctly filed with the National Crime Information Center. Moreover, not only did they lose 7 separate DNA samples, but they also didn't know about the National DNA Index System. In fact, it wasn't until the FBI took over the investigation 2 years after Billy vanished that the proper reports and DNA samples were collected and filed. Eventually, we uncovered and led us to believe Billy had been murdered in Woodbridge and buried in Seymour. The only person who has ever been arrested in this case is me. When we tried to hang missing persons flyers on telephone poles in Woodbridge, the police arrested me. The charge was later dropped. Though much time has passed, we still haven't been able to find justice for our Billy. We have tried to change the system so no family would have to endure the anguish that we have lived through. Reform has begun in Waterbury and in many other police departments in Connecticut. With HR3695, we have the opportunity to make changes nationwide. With the incentive grant program created in the bill, police training can finally catch up to modern technology while emphasizing sensitivity protocols. Police want to have better resources to solve missing persons cases, and Billy's Law will help them with that. Authorizing NamUs will help empower family members to search for their missing loved ones. As you can tell, looking for your missing loved one becomes a full-time job. It consumes you. You have to continually hound the police, knock on doors, make phone calls, visit the media, make flyers, create websites, network, speak up, and check on information entered into databases to make sure it was created correctly. NamUs makes this process easier as you can both enter information yourself and search the database. Moreover, the connected NCIC NamUs database that the legislation creates increases the chances of finding answers. Uncertainty is a cancer that crushes the spirit of loved ones left behind, destroys marriages, and tears at the tissue of family bonds. The stress of having a missing loved one turns some to substance abuse, creates health problems, and drives people into bankruptcy. Unless there is some form of resolution, the heartache never truly goes away. This legislation is long overdue, and the missing community applauds his effort. This act is named after my son, but it's not for him or the Smolinski family. This act is for every American, and it is the ultimate act in Homeland Security. Thank you again.
Beginning with Mr. Murphy.
Thank you very much, Chairman Scott, and that was a valiant attempt, Mr. Conyers. I will attempt to keep this as short as possible. First, I'd like to thank the subcommittee, Ranking Member Gohmert, and the full committee, and the leadership of Chairman Conyers for their prompt attention to this matter. I know how seriously you take this, and that's evidenced by the fact that we are here today, not very long after the introduction of this legislation. The picture I have to paint for you today is admittedly grim. As has been mentioned, every year thousands of Americans go missing, often never to be seen by their loved ones again. In fact, as we've heard, there are over 100,000 unsolved missing persons cases open at any given time.